All right, welcome back. It's time for us to get into some more conversations. But before we do that, let me just quickly remind you, wherever you're watching us from, all right, if you're watching us on social media, use the hashtag Breakfast Daily for us to hear what you're thinking. And the WhatsApp line is 0550 585832, 0550 585832. If you happen to be outside the shores of Ghana, kindly prefix that number with +233. Now, it's still Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and our conversations continue.
Yes, they do. And it's time for the health segment, as we do here every Tuesday, around 9 a.m.-ish on Breakfast Daily here on Citi TV. And this week, we're talking about breast cancer treatment. So we've been speaking a lot, David, about breast cancer, what that means even, how our lifestyles could predispose us or not to it. Today, we're talking about the treatment. So assuming, unfortunately, you have been diagnosed with breast cancer, or you do know someone who has been, it could be your mother, your sister, your brother, your father, because we have said here that even though it's less likely, men can also be diagnosed with breast cancer. You know, there's someone in your space, someone you met on social media who's been diagnosed with it. It doesn't have to be a life sentence. There are treatment options available. And we have the perfect person to guide us right through it. Yeah, so we have Dr. Collins Apia-Ajekum. He's a medical officer in charge, Doctors in Service Clinics, Accra. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Little under the weather this morning. But
oh, sorry to hear that.
We are still here.
So who treats the doctor when the doctor is not well?
Oh, I have my doctor. I called him this morning.
Oh, you called him?
Yes, so he told me what to do.
Wonderful. The doctor's doctor. I'd like to meet him. But Doc, I mean, we have been speaking about breast cancer here, just trying to create the awareness. We even have a breast cancer advocate standing behind you. Her name is Adra Pinkett. Yes, you know. So we've been doing a lot of conversations here. But we'd like to get into what the treatment options available are, especially in Ghana. A lot of people have said they could be myths. You can tell us if they are myths or not. But a lot of people have said that the plethora of options that are available to people all over the world are not necessarily available here, right? So we want to know, for people living here, what are the options? And then generally speaking, if someone did have the opportunity to go and, you know, attain a treatment plan elsewhere in the world because of where they're living. We have people who are watching us from outside of Ghana, for example. What are the options available?
Okay, so before we delve into the specifics, I'll say breast cancer treatment is a multidisciplinary team action. Anytime you're diagnosed, the thinking should be, okay, this patient needs a number of health professionals in order to get the best results. Now, that includes doctors, different kind of doctors, surgeons, oncologists. Oncologists are doctors who take care of cancer patients. Then you've got nurses, pharmacists, nutritionists, psychologists, clinical psychologists, psychiatrists, occupational therapists. The list is quite long, depending on the individual case. So we don't have a one-size-fits-all approach. However, generally, there are general approaches to breast cancer, depending on the type, the stage, the grade, your physical well-being, whether you've had menopause or not. There are multiple factors. Now, when I was talking about these multiple factors, I mentioned that it depends on the type, the stage, the grade. Now, I'm impressing on that because a lot of people assume, even health workers, that the type, stage, grade are the same. They are not the same. We have staging, we have grading, and we have types. Types really go to the subtypes, where there are certain things called receptors, or things that receive signals or impulses. Okay, so that is we have HER2, PE2, a whole number of types, subtypes of cancer cells. And then we've got stages, where some people will use one numbering.
Yes, stage 1, 2, 3, 4.
Exactly, to go stage 0 to do that. And then we've got grades. Now, usually one points to how large the tumor is.
Okay.
Then the other will point to whether it has spread or not. Okay. So tumor grading really, in simple terms, for lay people listening, is to see whether the tumor is a fast-growing tumor, it's a slow-growing tumor, and how far it spreads. And the stages usually got to do with the size. So at 2 cm, 5 cm, and several sizes, we stage it per those sizes. Okay. So your treatment is going to be based on all these factors. And like I mentioned, whether you've had menopause or not. The reason why that is also important is the hormone estrogen is a big player when it comes to breast cancer. Now, women who've had menopause have a different way of producing estrogen compared to women who are yet to experience menopause. Now, women who are yet to experience menopause usually default produce estrogen from the ovaries, like most women do. Now, if they've entered menopause or they've been in menopause for quite a number of years, they are 70 plus, they've been in there for a long time, their ovaries don't really produce estrogen as much. They have an enzyme, aromatase. That enzyme converts the male hormones, the weak male hormones, called androgens, okay, into estrogen to give you the similar effects. And so if the person is menopausal, the treatment, you give certain drugs that help, like aromatase inhibitors, for example, that will help sort that out. And if they are premenopausal, then you give them something that affects the ovaries. Either you're going to do ovarian ablation, that is, you find ways to suppress the ovaries' production of estrogen, or you give them a drug like tamoxifen that can work for both pre and post-menopausal women. Okay, so that is there. Now, there are general approaches, like I said, general umbrellas in which you can throw the treatment options under. To make it simple, we have surgical. I want all listeners or watchers to just pick a few nuggets. And then, of course, when you meet your doctor, he can give you more technical. But generally, we have surgical options. Now, I'll talk a bit about the types of surgical options we have. And I think a week ago or so, we talked about breast reconstruction. So I'll throw that in there. And then we've got medical options. And then generally supportive lifestyle options. So technically, someone or a professional may also describe it as local regional treatments. That is, we look at just that region. And then we've got systemic treatments where we are targeting the whole system. And then we've got hormonal treatment. Then that's where the estrogen plane comes in. And then we've got targeted treatment where we are targeting the actual cells. So this one, we need to know the subtypes of the cells. That is why I talked about types, grading, staging. And then we've got immunotherapies, which isn't very common or vibrant here. So in Ghana, surgery is always an option. Now, when it comes to surgery, again, we have different ways to figure out which, and also the patient's wishes. You also need to factor in what the patient wants. Some patients will tell you, and they will never. Now, it behooves us to not say, okay, if you don't want this, then go home. We are done. We need to give you other options. And that's why there are a plethora of treatment options. So when it comes to surgery, in simple terms, you can think of it as breast-sparing surgery and non-breast-sparing surgery. For everybody, I think that everyone can understand that. So we have types of surgeries where we take out the lump, we take a bit of the healthy tissue to make sure that at least we've taken all of the disease tissues out. And then we have the one that based on the size, the spread, and even the size of the person's breast and the location of the tumor and all of that, we say, okay, this client needs the whole breast gone. Or part of the breast gone. So we have partial mastectomies, we have total mastectomies. We even have surgeries where we take the breast plus the lymph nodes in the armpit as well. Sometimes we may only look at what we call a sentinel lymph node, which is usually the first lymph node that the cancer spreads to. Sometimes we may end up taking everything, or 2 or 3, and test them. So it always depends on the patient and certain factors that I've mentioned previously. For the surgery, like I said, lumpectomies, that's what it's called technically. You take out the lump. Now in medicine, when we say ectomies, it's cutting out and removing. That's just what it means. So here, mastectomy and
hysterectomy.
Yes, hysterectomies, you hear all of that. So it's just cutting it and taking out something that was there that you've removed out. So that is generally what it is. Now, it's a journey. It's a kind of like a spectrum. You start off usually with surgery, and then we go to adjuvant therapies. That is where the chemicals, the medication comes in.
So you start off with the surgery to make sure that you take out the cells that are causing the problem.
Exactly. Usually. Sometimes the tumors may be too large. So you need to first go to the medication. This is what we call neoadjuvant therapy, where you first start with the chemotherapies or the radiotherapies to shrink it a bit, to make it operable. So we have tumors that are inoperable simply because no matter what you do, they are too large and they've spread to other areas. So even if you take the main tumor out, it's got into your liver, it's got into your lungs, it's useless. So those are inoperable completely. And we have inoperable ones that can be operable if you can desize them or shrink them, simply put. So that is there. And then of course we have the ones that are very small that may not need any kind of debulking. So you can go straight. So your decision to go surgery first or drugs first also depends on certain factors. So that is why you need it to be a multidisciplinary team, and also you actually need to have a one-on-one session with your primary care physician who is taking charge of the case. So we've got that. Now, in terms of I'll take radiotherapy because usually it tends to follow surgery. Now, a lot of people also mix radiotherapy and chemotherapy up. Radiotherapy is not the use of medication. It's the use of rays, like X-rays.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, depending on, again, the type, the stage, the grade, we have external beam, where the person is like sitting or lying, the X-ray machine is on, and then receiving the radiation. In some advanced countries, in Ghana, I'm not too sure yet if every place will have that, but they have some where they can target the actual area, put in a device that will only give off radiation to that
Are those
breast.
the beams?
Yes, and then it's not going to affect.
I mean,
the
I've seen that done in Ghana.
Exactly.
So the radioactive
So
beams.
some places have that, but not every facility will have that. So it's not as common as external beam where X-ray machines and all that are there. And then we've got, there's even a brachytherapy where this device it can be placed in, you can walk around and do stuff with it, and it's not something that is taken out, so you can move around with it. So that also exists.
Interesting.
So we've got that. It all depends on your mind. I don't even talk. Finances plays a massive role because you may not be able to afford treatment if it's not covered by insurance or something of the sort. And so it's very important that Ghanaians generally, and I'm very passionate about it, that we sign up, each individual sign up to some kind of insurance, national health insurance, private health insurances. There are a plethora of them. Just take time, find out what's best for you. You can get a cover for.
Would you say most cancers are covered by insurance?
No. No, but some of the very common cancers that really affect us will be covered. Like the prostate, breast cancer to a degree will be covered. Those ones will be, but maybe some very rare ones like a lung cancer here or there that requires quite extensive. That may not be covered. Or it may be covered to a point, and then you top up.
Dr. Piajikum, how can people get in touch with Doctors in Service?
Okay, so our main line is 050-185-1831.
Okay.
050-185-1831. We are located in Asylum Down, very close to Bedita Pharmacy Wholesale.
Okay.
So if you get there and you look for us. We also have other branches, DIS Tema Community 5, behind the First Baptist School.
Okay.
We've got Cape Coast, very close to the GRA, Abra. And Takrade, we are also in the same premises as Takrade International School.
Okay.
Yes.
Social media?
So social media, Doctors in Service, we are everywhere. Facebook, Instagram. Okay, we are not everywhere. We don't have TikTok yet, but we'll be joining TikTok soon. Yes, yes. So yeah, you can meet us online, come physically, or give us a call, and we can talk more.
Fantastic. I think this has been very insightful.
Yeah. Very. Thank you very much. Thank you, Doc.
All right, we'll be speaking with Dr. Coletta Piajikum, who is the medical officer in charge of the Accra branch of Doctors in Service Clinics. We'll take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. Exciting conversations coming up.